Notnerd Podcast, Episode 210, Amazingly Awkward Christmas.
Welcome to the Notnerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Plenty of news to cover today. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Greetings. I thought I would introduce some accents. It's been a while.
Yes,
I haven't offended a continent lately.
We missed them so much.
I didn't know. Every one of us. I was going to launch in. I had a kind of a brain fart, and couldn't remember, but I wanted to launch in with a British or a UK accent because our listenership there has been going up.
Yeah,
there's
Brexit is helping us out.
Got like 4 downloads in the UK.
Wow.
I know.
Nice.
Up from 1. So that one guy who got a new iPad and forgot to unsubscribe on his other devices. Yeah. Thank you for the extra download. We appreciate that.
That is great. Speaking of downloads and such, I got an email from mypodcastreviews.com. They actually monitor our podcast reviews, which, quick reminder, we haven't had any in a while. Please leave us a review if you would like to in iTunes or podcasts or wherever you can do it these days. But he published some industry statistics for podcasts that I thought were pretty interesting. The top one being that the total number of podcasts in iTunes has now passed 800,000 different podcasts.
Wow.
So thank you for us making your list, because there are a lot of options out there. 27.8 million episodes.
You probably subscribed about half of those. 8 million. 800 million.
800,000.
Oh, 800,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is a bunch of statistics in this article. Most of them, 58.41%, are inactive. So that means that has not published in the last 90 days.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who rushed right out to do a podcast, did one episode and thought, I got better things to do.
Yes. But right about 50% have 10 or more episodes. So 50% of those have 9 or less episodes. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, you can go check that out and some more stuff. Another interesting thing I happened to notice, Dave, we live in the Tualatin-Sherwood area outside of Portland, and there's Bridgeport Village Mall close to us, kind of on the border of Tigard. Some great local geography here for you.
Yeah. But for all those who are like, of course, I'm going to get my map right out and look at that. Yeah. So basically in the same part of the metro area.
Yeah, south of Portland. And I was driving home yesterday from, I had to run to Home Depot for something. I was driving home and I saw this business, and there's kind of a cool modern looking logo, and it said Jevo. Jevo. And I was like, I've never heard of Jevo. I wonder what this is.
I've heard of Jeeves.
Yeah, so I set myself a remander to look it up, and I looked it up. This company right in our own backyard, the world's first automated gelatin shot maker.
Because everyone was out there going, if only this were automated to get alcohol into my system faster.
Yes, dubbed the Keurig of Jell-O shots, Jevo creates an enriched customer experience while serving as an innovative profit center for your business. So it basically is a Keurig machine that makes Jell-O shots.
It's like a slot machine for alcohol.
Yeah, so if you are own a restaurant or just really like Jell-O shots, check out Jevo right here in Tualatin. Just 5 minutes, making volume a non-issue.
Yeah, and I believe they are not vegan since gelatin contains
maybe they have a vegan option of those. But yeah, thought that was pretty interesting. It's so amazing in all these business parks all around you. All of the random businesses are.
Yeah, you and I used to work for a company that was tucked away in the inside of a business park that was one of UPS's largest distributor of boxes. So
long before Amazon, which will come up again in our follow-up. We've talked about TikTok a couple times. It's kind of a polarizing social media app. Some people get it, some people don't, but it is very popular. Well, as we get to the end of 2019, which is not only the end of a year, but the end of another decade, everybody's doing all of their year-end, decade-end stuff. But TikTok put out a top 100 of 2019. So if you wanted to get a quick idea of what TikTok is, go visit this link. You can watch a bunch bunch of different TikToks. It kind of separates them into some different categories and see if it is something you might enjoy.
I think I will refrain.
Yes.
I'm very lukewarm on TikTok since it is a Chinese company and China's been doing a lot of bad things in the world. Yes. And I'm just like, what are we getting ourselves into here? Yeah. So I've been kind of lukewarm on that. And I will also say that actually next year would be the end of the decade. Do we start with year 0? You start with year 1, right? And so the 10th.
No, you start with the 0.
No, but I mean when civilization started, when the calendar started, it was year 1. It wasn't year 0.
Well, did the calendar start in year 1 or did they start it the calendar after the first year?
I don't know. 1 to 10. 10 is at the end.
It's 11. Been a while since we've had an idea for a new podcast, and now that it's over 800,000, I wonder if there's any calendar research podcast.
I bet there's room for a numerology type that speaks about numbers and those type of things. So whether it's this year or next year's the decade, it's the end of an era for sure.
Yes. But yeah, so that TikTok thing, I also will link to. We talked about getting into gift guides and all of that type of stuff.
What is going on? I'm looking through this TikTok article, and these screenshots are
There's
intriguing.
Some very creative people on TikTok.
Giant fingernail? Gross. What is going on? Okay. This solidifies my decision not to participate in TikTok.
Yes. So anyways, gift guides, you can go back and look at all of our picks and that kind of thing if you need some gift ideas. But kottke.org, which I seem to be mentioning just about every week these days.
It's a good news source.
Yes. He puts together a gift guide with some of his own recommendations, some of his reader recommendations, as well as links out to a bunch of other gift guides. So if you're looking for something kind of off the beaten path, per se, for some gifts, something a little obscure for the person who has everything, check out that link in our show notes, and you will probably be able to find something on there for everyone. You mentioned UPS packages. A new report is out. Amazon is now delivering about half of its own packages.
I see Amazon trucks in our neighborhood all the time.
Yes.
And they drive like idiots, but they're there delivering the packages that I need.
So they are delivering about half of their own, and they are going to soon pass both USPS and UPS for total packages delivered.
Who did not see the writing on the wall for this?
I've been mentioning it for a long time with the USPS contract, where they got this great contract, saved a lot of money, and then just used all that money to build their own thing, and they're going to put the others out of business because eventually they'll just say, hey, we've got some extra bandwidth. We've got so many planes and everything. UPS, we can take some of your packages for you.
Well, how long before Amazon purchases UPS and just integrates its planes and its trucks into its own Amazon shipping service?
Yep. Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
Amazon, they do a lot of stuff. Speaking of Amazon and one of our favorites, Apple, the Apple Podcasts app, I guess you could say, or skill, is that what they're called on the Amazon
Probably
devices?
A skill, yeah.
They are not now available on Echo devices, so you can install that and then ask your Echo to play anything from Apple Podcasts.
For example, Echo, play the Notnerd podcast on Apple Podcasts, and it should play it.
Yeah.
It's a little clunky, and I think you can go in and set it as a default podcast player, perhaps.
Yes.
Your mileage may vary on that, but very neat. And as a reminder, you can listen to the Notnerd podcast practically anywhere.
Yes, we have done work. It's even on YouTube. We publish them there, and all of the major podcast services. Well, Apple, they are being aggressive this holiday season. Their new Apple Card, the credit card, which I have one of, usually you get 3% cash back on any Apple purchases you make. Well, they are upping it to 6%.
Wow, that's
for
pretty
holiday
good.
Purchases. So some people were talking that if you bought out the maxed out Mac Pro that we were talking about last week, with your cash back, you could buy the MacBook Pro that I bought, and then with your cash back on that, you could buy like some AirPods or something. So
wow, that's pretty cool. So for every $100, you get $6 to spend elsewhere. That's great.
So that is very nice. And they also have, it reminded me, Apple's holiday return policy is very generous. I believe anything bought after like November 15th up to Christmas Day, instead of their normal 14-day return period. They give you till like January 20th because they figure if you buy it in November for Christmas, somebody doesn't get it till Christmas, your 14-day return period's over.
Yeah.
So they give you some flex there, which is a very nice feature. I think more companies should do that. I'm sure there's more that do, but Apple's really the one that I'm aware of. And one more little Apple tidbit, the Apple Arcade, their game service, you can now purchase an annual subscription for $50, so you're getting 2 months for free.
I did not see this. This is news to me, but I think I maybe mentioned that right now I'm not a subscriber of the Apple Arcade. I think I got the free trial and then I did an additional month and then I shut it down because I found that I just wasn't playing the games. Yeah. Even a game lover like me, there's a limit. I have a Nintendo Switch. I have an old Xbox 360. I've got emulation, I've got Steam games, I've got games coming out of my ears.
Yes.
And so one other service that I was paying for to maybe play 1 or 2 games a month, it wasn't worth it to me. Yeah. So when things slow down, I'll probably do this. But having options to buy a year subscription to save a few dollars might be beneficial to me in the future because then I wouldn't have to worry about it. It's just paid for, it's done. If I use it, great. If not, c'est la vie.
It is a great feature, and I hear a lot of good things. People love Apple Arcade, and there's a variety of games, and you don't have the stinking in-app purchases or ads or anything, so it's a very clean gaming experience, especially when you have a family, because everybody can share it through family sharing. So Apple Arcade, save a little money and go for the annual subscription because like you did where you cancel it and you can start it back up, they'd rather lock you in for the year and give you a little bit free.
And I will say, depending on these days, you kind of have to pick sides if you don't want to end up like me and have too many options. You need to pick sides. Am I going to get a console and play those games? Am I going to get a phone and buy games there? Well, if you say, you know what, I want to just downgrade and I don't want a bunch of junk cluttering my house, I'm a minimalist, you could get an Apple TV and your iPad and your phone and exclusively play iPhone and Apple Arcade games, which are compatible with Apple TV.
Yeah.
I played one the other night, some racing game. I was bored. I just turned it on. It was downloaded on there and played a couple rounds of racing game. And I can see myself limiting to only Apple Arcade games and other games available on Apple's platform and be completely happy.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone there.
This is true. You know what else is true? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Well, illustrious, beautiful listener, Chris, who is a man and a man of a man, has. Why are you laughing? I just wanted to, because Chris could go both ways. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So Chris is worried about robocalling, and I got to say, Chris, I am right there with you. I hate robocalls. How do you combat against this? There is an army of electronic devices cruising through lists of numbers and contacting everyone. Laws be danged, whatever, they're just doing it. So let's talk about that a little bit. So here are a couple options. You can turn your phone off so that you never receive any phone calls. I usually receive about 2 robocalls a day or unsolicited calls.
Yes.
And so here are some techniques that I use to combat this. First and foremost, Chris, you really should get you and all of your family members' phone numbers registered with the Do Not Call registry.
Yes.
And you can locate that website at donotcall.gov. This is the FCC's website. They create a blacklist of numbers. They submit those to all of the different carriers, and the carriers are supposed to enforce this do not call. And if a company calls you and you're on this list, you have precedence to sue that company, and they can be fined and you can get a reward for that. So the carriers are aware of this list. Individual companies who do calling need to be aware of this list, and they should honor it. Now, the problem is a lot of people, they take a look at the risk reward. It's like, well, I'm going to spam 2 million people. The chances of somebody complaining is super small, and the fine, I can afford it. So they just go ahead and do it anyway. The other problem is a lot of these companies originate from outside the United States. If you're outside the United States, you don't have to worry about the FCC because they're not in charge of you. So that's a problem as well. The other thing you can do on an iPhone, I'll walk you through it, is when you receive a call, you can block the call. So the first thing you need to do is you can go to your phone app, and it may be hidden if you're not a person who uses phone calls a lot. When someone calls you, it shows up in the recents list. Now, beside the person who called you in the recents list is a little circle with an I in there, the information button. And so I received a call from a friend this morning. If I click the little I and I scroll down to the bottom of that little contact page, it says I can block this caller. And so any unsolicited calls that you receive that you do not recognize, that you do not want, go ahead and go into your recents list and block those. There's only so many numbers in the world. And chances are that these robocall companies, you're going to get a call again from the same number a couple months from now, because they have probably a couple hundred numbers that they call out on. So go ahead and block those. And over time, you'll see your number of unsolicited calls decreasing. Another thing you can do regarding the donotcall.gov website is you can submit a number as spam. I oftentimes do that. And when I submit that as spam, I'm not going to get any type of reward or anything like that. It's on their radar, and they can take the steps necessary to shut it down. So I oftentimes do that. Sometimes if I get a couple a day, I'll just stop what I'm doing. I'll go to their website. I'll submit a bunch of numbers. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not the hardest thing. It takes a little bit of time. But I'm like, you know what? This is for the greater good. I'm tired of these companies. And honestly, for the past 3 or 4 weeks, the number of calls has really gone down for me, but I'm sure it'll
come back around.
Up. The other thing I wanted to mention was you can check with your carrier. If you're on Verizon or T-Mobile or AT&T, Sprint, they have the ability to block callers. They have blacklists of known spammers. And so if you're just getting inundated, they may have some programs. Some of them you may have to pay extra for, which is a crime. But you may just have to opt into a service that can block various things. So your mileage may vary depending on what carrier you have. And then last but not least, you may want to consider utilizing a secondary number when you sign up for things online, membership cards, and all those type of things. And I'm not suggesting making up a number, although you certainly could. If you have a Gmail account, why don't you just sign up for a Google Voice number? You sign up for a Google Voice number, and now whenever you sign up for a credit card or a big box chain or have to submit a number online, you use your Google Voice number. The Google Voice number can route those calls to your main cell phone number, or you can shut that thing off and it'll just send you a notification, hey, you received a call. So don't worry about if your doctor's office or if Best Buy is trying to contact you or send you a message. It'll still come through your Google Voice app, and you're not going to miss anything. But you can prevent it from calling your number during dinner time or on your commute to work or wherever. It just kind of quietly goes in this little inbox. And so it's been invaluable for me. I pretty much use my Google Voice number to sign up for any good or service. I believe it really cuts down on the number of robocalls that I get to my direct cell phone number.
Yeah. I was just going to add 2 things. The first, I think I remember a story a while back that the FCC is strongly encouraging the cell phone carriers to build some of this into their thing to help try to combat it, since we all use our cell phones all the time. So I think, because you had said before we started recording, well, why would they? And I think when the FCC starts to tell you, so I remember there are some services, but it does vary by carrier. The other thing I was going to say, if you go on your iPhone in recent versions of iOS, in the settings app, and if you go to the phone section, there is a setting under there called call silencing and blocked contacts. And the first option under there is silence unknown callers. So your phone will not ring or vibrate if the person is not in your contacts. Now, if you're somebody that, uses your phone for business or something and might have people calling you, but people should still leave a voicemail, and they shouldn't be calling you in the first place these days. Send me an email, please. But you can turn that on to silence unknown callers, and in that section, you can also block contacts.
And here I just wanted to show you a list of my blocked contacts over the years.
Oh my goodness,
Hundreds.
that is a long list.
Hundreds.
I have 0. I have 0. But yeah, so that is a great tip, because that is something that annoys most of us.
Yes.
Let's move on to our takes of the week. This is kind of an interesting one with a lot of different layers, as it would be. Good old Putin over in Russia signs a law making Russian apps mandatory on smartphones and computers. Now, with what we think of Russia, and I will remind people, we are the most nonpartisan tech podcast on the internet. But when you think Russia and you think Putin installing apps, you think, it's going to be like
tracking.
some spy thing that, is causing you all kinds of problems. Well, the way that it's being spun is he really wants to promote Russian app developers, and there's some good ones out there.
Sure.
The Face app or whatever, one of those comes from Russia. It's being talked about as wanting to promote some of these Russian apps and get some of these things pre-installed. Now, from the sounds of it, like Apple and Google were not given a lot of heads up on needing to figure out a way to do this, to install random apps on only phones that go to Russia. But very interesting.
And so would the idea be, you have, this is probably a bad example, but let's say you have a web browser. The Safari web browser is built in onto your iPhone. Maybe in Russia it has to be, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something in Russia. It has to be Kremlin browser or something like that.
Yes.
And that would become a pre-installed app that users could use. And so other apps like that, maybe the Map app, instead of Apple Maps or Google Maps, it's the Russian version of that.
Yes.
So it's more of a nationalistic type effort versus like a spy effort.
That's what the information says. And I don't know if we have any Russian listeners.
The Russian Federation, we get one solid download every week. So I know there's at least somebody using a VPN or a listener there. So hello to you, sir.
Yes.
Or ma'am.
So let us know if that affects you. We've talked about this several times before, but this is a new option for this. We talked about another service. The FCC, which we have already mentioned this episode, they have released a new, or at least updated, digital TV reception map feature on their website on fcc.gov, where you can put in your address and you can see what kind of channels and how strong the signal would be to get over-the-air antenna digital television in your home.
And I think a lot of people forget that they can receive free digital quality programming right over the air. Of course, it has advertisement on it, but this is the standard terrestrial ABC, NBC, CBS, OPB in our case, or PBS elsewhere. I am fortunate in that the area that I live in is all green.
Yes.
There are some radio towers that are a line of sight to where I live, and so all those towers are broadcasting the terrestrial TV stations to me. And I do have to move my antenna a little bit to go from channel 2. I can either get channel 2 or 12, but not both at the same time.
Yeah.
But I have a really weak... Actually, I think I got the antenna from you. The little,
the one that I tried out.
Yeah, I've had a couple over the years, but just a small little antenna. If I had a bigger one on top of my house, I wouldn't have to deal with that.
And it does say right in the text there, signal strength calculations assume an outdoor antenna 30 feet above ground level. Actual reception quality may vary. So putting one in your living room right next to your TV with all the interference.
Mine's 10 feet above ground level inside my house, above my TV. Beside my router, and so it's not an optimal place, but I can pretty much get everything.
Very nice. Speaking of TV and the Apple TV devices, there's a Swiss TV company that has, they literally give you an Apple TV as their like cable box per se.
That's phenomenal.
And
do they just have an app that has all the programming and stuff?
They must have that. I don't know if we have any Swiss listeners. If you're
I
out
don't
there.
believe we do.
Yes, it's called Salt is the name of the company, and they give everyone an Apple TV 4K.
That's
great.
But
so many complained about the Apple TV remote,
which is awful,
that they developed their own in coordination with Apple. Now, this article mentioned several times that they made their own Siri remote, but one thing I do not see on here is a Siri button.
Right.
So if you can't use, I do see a little microphone on there, so you might be able to use Siri. Because like I had the pick of the week that the universal remote that I really like to use with my Apple TV works great for everything except for Siri. But I have a feeling that a remote like this, it's more of a standard remote with buttons and not a touchscreen, which I try to use mine, but it is so frustrating.
I want a new Apple TV with a new remote. Yeah. This is one of the Apple products that's on my biggest wish list, and I've already warned my family. The second they announce a new Apple TV with a new remote, I'm buying it.
Yep.
If it's the same old remote, I probably won't have this incentive. But yeah, the old one is so bad.
And friend of the show, Dylan, actually texted me a picture this week. He got a nice silicone case for his Apple TV remote, which makes it a little bulkier, which really, he said, it only helps the getting it lost in the couch cushions feature. But yes, a new Apple TV remote is one thing that I would really like to see. Another article of as the news continues to slow down and the end of the year gets closer, the biggest tech flops of the decade from PC Mag. There's all kinds of lists of the biggest tech, and we'll get into maybe some of those next week. But this
Hold on a second. I'm not sure this is fair. The biggest tech flop, the top one is Apple AirPower. They never shipped it.
Yeah.
They announced it, but they never shipped it. How is that a flop?
That's the worst tech announcement of...
Yeah.
Well, when you get any of these articles, they get the Amazon Fire Phone. I will strongly agree with that.
I still want one of these. If anyone has a Fire Phone in their drawer that they want to send to me, or I will pay for shipping, I want this thing. I'm so intrigued by this.
BlackBerry tablets and phones, the coolest cooler.
No.
I saw that they just finally just completely shut down. It was a Kickstarter that they never really delivered on.
Yeah.
Facebook Home and more. Many of the Facebook attempts at different products.
Facebook anything. They've got the Muppets hawking their latest wares. What is it? The Google
or the Facebook?
The Facebook
Look or whatever they're calling it. There's so many product names out there. Google Glass, which some good ideas that just didn't really go through, but you can go through and read about some of the biggest flops of the decade. Well, security and privacy stories. Again this week, Portland is in the news. Portland plans, I love this, Portland plans to propose the strictest facial recognition ban in the U.S. And what makes it the strictest is it's not only public entities of Portland wouldn't be able to use facial recognition. They're also proposing or planning to propose that private companies in the city of Portland would not be able to use facial recognition technologies.
Okay, so what about a product like the Wisecam that I often talk about? It has a facial recognition so that you can determine whether the object is a person or not. Would I still be able to purchase one of these items, or is it just for companies who manufacture and produce facial recognition in Oregon?
I think it would be, within your own home, it would be okay. From what I was reading in the article, it would be like concerts being able to use them. So more of in
or
a
like
public
a business
space.
Park or a mall or something.
Mall security, being able to use facial recognition.
I gotcha. I was thinking that you couldn't build a product like that here in Oregon, but it's more for the use of it.
For the use of it,
okay.
Yes. So, and another one that's just breaking over this past weekend, New Orleans has been hit by a cyber attack. I don't know if you heard about this one.
I did.
And it was quite interesting. It sounds like they had actually had some training on this. They had learned from some of the other cities around.
They listened to the Notnerd podcast and listened that one backup is none backup.
Yes. Apparently, in the city buildings, at some point over the intercom system or whatever, they were just telling people, shut down your computers and unplug them. Like they just told everybody, hey. And so it seems like they caught it early enough to really mitigate some of this stuff. They're not really sure how widespread. They don't think any data was lost, but there was just, in the morning, they were getting a bunch of warnings of intrusions and phishing emails. And so then they just shut it all down and trying to figure it out. But yeah, so hopefully these cities are starting to learn. They had done some training. They've done some phishing training. So hopefully nobody got caught up in this. But yeah, New Orleans, do not try to go to City Hall for anything because we are prepared to do everything by paper. It's like, yes.
Please, no, I'll just wait a couple weeks.
You get paid by the hour. The people that visit do not.
I think it's not going to be long until we see government agencies, businesses utilize the ability that we've seen before. So, UPS, uninterrupted power supply systems. A lot of computers are plugged into them, but they have a capability to like plug into your computer so that you can schedule them and do the settings and stuff like that. How long until we have IT departments installing power control units in all of the computers in addition to like the internet?
Yes.
And at a moment's notice, they can turn off internet in the building and power to the computers and just shut them down. What do you think?
I'm sure there's some businesses that have it, but yeah, I think
there's
getting
a big
more
red
of that
button that the IT guy can hit.
The way I will set it up for any clients that want this is I will have a massive guillotine that the network cable that comes in, like for the cable modem, the main source of internet, where I could just hit a button and there'll be a camera that turns on, and then the guillotine will cut the data network cable.
And it physically damages the cable.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Still, even if the computers were running and the network's off, if they're already infected, it's too late. But one backup is none backup. I do have a couple more security stories I think we'll save for next week so we can get on to our bonus odd take. I don't know if I talked about this last year, but I do post it on Facebook. There is a DJ Rico.
R-I-K-O? R-A-C-O?
R-I-K-O.
Okay.
And every year he puts out a Christmas mixtape, per se, via MP3. You can download it for free. He tries to find a lot of new Christmas songs or some remixes. It is just a fun way to get in the Christmas spirit. Last year I listened through like 5 or 6 of them. He'll do some little interludes, which reminds me, I'll put a link in the show notes. I used to run a website called Audatune.
I remember that.
I also used to, for several years, burn CDs where I did my Amazingly Awkward Christmas. And I think I did...
What's a CD?
So 6 or 7 volumes, and I would try to find some really awkward Christmas songs. So I'll put a link to audatunes.com. It is not great, but the website is still there, and it has the lists of some of those songs. But yeah,
So are these are songs that other people produce that he finds?
Yes.
Because I see a direct download link here. You can listen to these. How does he get away with...
That is a very good question. I think he just goes for it. He does put some interludes and an introduction and a little bit of his own mix in between it, but
that's fun.
Yeah, it is a fun little way to get in the Christmas spirit as we quickly come upon it. You know what else we're quickly coming upon? Our picks of the week.
Now, I don't often recommend subscription-based tools, services, those type of things. Apple Arcade, we've talked about that. A few others. I am not a big fan of like all the Adobe applications being on a subscription model. For professionals, that's great. For individual users who just want to have a good time, I would say find other tools. These are not meant for you. They were not built for you. The exception is, I've used this for a past few days. It's called Flow by Moleskine or Moleskine, or however you want to pronounce this application. It's an iPad app, and it's also available for your phone. And it was one of Apple's top apps of the year in its category, is how I discovered it. So on the iPad, I'll look from that perspective. I'm always looking for a good note-taking application or a drawing application or something that is an alternative to Apple's built-in notes or Evernote or some of these other services that I've been using for years. How Flow excels is that it has great drawing and painting tools, but it's set up kind of like an infinite scroll notebook. On my screen, there's the tool settings.
Oh, yeah.
You can choose from like markers and ink pens, and you can select your items and move them around. And you also can choose from a variety of backgrounds. So if you want college ruled lines, or if you want dot grids, you can change it to big dot grids, small dot grids. A variety of different backgrounds for different note-taking or drawing instances. But what sets it apart is that when you fill up your screen, you don't scroll upward to have more content below. You scroll from right to left. It's like a giant piece of paper, the height of your iPad, that goes to the right, infinity.
Wow.
And so you're drawing on a screen, and you're like, I'm going to move over, and you draw something else on the screen there, and you just slide that over. And it's not set up in pages. It's set up as an infinite scroll. And you'll notice at the bottom here, Nate, that you can scroll back through all this stuff. And so you
have been hard at work.
I've been a busy guy. I don't think there's any lewd drawings in there. Sometimes I like to draw something lewd and show my wife. It's funny. She does not appreciate it. But anyway, it costs $1.99 a month if you want to subscribe to the service. They have a great trial. It's like 7-day trial or something like that. I've been using it. Or if you want to save half that, you can pay $11.99 for a 12-month subscription. Okay. And I'm actually thinking about it. Like I said, I don't often subscribe to these type of things, but if I even use it 3 or 4 times and it's useful to me, $12 for a year is not bad. And it's a gray area, but I want to support the companies financially who make great software and reward them. And so I might do a subscription to do that very thing. What I don't like is if a company comes out and basically forces you to pay a lot of money for these tools. I feel like $12 a year is a very fair price for this tool.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I bought version 1 for $12, next year they're going to have an update, version 2 for $12. It seems like a fair trade. But check it out. It's Flow by Moleskine. It's fantastic on the iPad if you have a pencil. If you don't have a pencil, I don't know that it would be worth it. But it's a lot of fun to use. It's intuitive. The tools are great. And I've enjoyed using it this past week.
Very nice. My pick this week is another upgrade pick. We have done a lot of episodes and we have made a lot of picks. And hey, every once in a while, some of those picks, they upgrade their features or offer a new tool.
Especially if you pay them a subscription so they can afford to be in business.
This one does not, but we have talked several times about FakeSpot.
Yes.
FakeSpot.com, which allows you to check, they kind of have some algorithms to check Amazon reviews or other e-commerce sites to see, give them a grade of what they think it is worth. Well, they now have a Chrome extension.
Okay.
Browser extensions. I think they have it for Safari and Firefox as well, where you can install it, and then you can have the little button at the top where you can press to get it. But when I'm on Amazon, it now adds a little section right on the Amazon listing with the FakeSpot rating and the grading, and even on the list when you search for something.
That's nice.
Yes, and there's a button there where you can, sometimes it'll say this analysis is out of date, please reanalyze, and it'll go through and do it again. But it's kind of crowdsourced that way that whenever people are shopping for things, they can click on this, and then you can get this real-time grading of how well FakeSpot thinks, how accurate they think the reviews are, if it's a good one. So you can see, like some things it'll be like some of the Amazon basic stuff, they're like, yep, this is legit. But then if it's kind of some weird off-brand stuff, you can see pretty quickly, oh, that is not good.
If there's 10 reviews that are 5 stars and they're all from the same person, that's maybe a sign.
Yes.
I noticed also on their website that it seems to work with Best Buy, Sephora, Steam, Walmart as well.
Yeah,
it's
so
got
they've
other
really
partners.
expanded to a lot of the major players. So you can see, like I'm just looking at some random, recommendations here, and there's a F right at the top, and it's like, hey, that's good to know. That helps you make a better educated shopping decision, especially at this time of year when we're doing a lot of shopping.
Yeah, it's a very handy tool with as much as both of us purchase on Amazon.
Yes, and speaking of Amazon, it's time for our Ramazon purchase of the week. We love it when you guys go to amazon.notnerd.com, you bookmark it, you go to our website and click any of the Amazon links. Because we are affiliates, we get a little kickback off of that, and we like looking at the anonymous reports to see what you guys are buying. And this week, Dave, this one might have been you.
Let's see.
AirPods case, Blue Wind drop-proof AirPods protective case, covers silicone skin with cute furball AirPods keychain strap, portable Apple AirPods accessories, black.
Let me pull something out of my pocket. No, it is not mine. This is my leather-covered. My case.
And we did have somebody else purchased another one, which was another silicone AirPods Pro case. Whoever our AirPods Pro purchaser is,
fancy.
Our 1%er listeners. But this one caught my eye because not only does it give a nice black silicone cover for your AirPods, it also comes with a lovely furball keychain, and it also, in one of the pictures, there is a strap. The straps that clip onto your AirPods to go around your neck, which then makes them wired AirPods again.
It's if you're prone to losing them, you can tether them both together so that they don't.
So Dave, here's the
oh boy,
the little furball keychain is completely arbitrary. Like it's just a big furball that you can clip these. There's a keychain that you can clip the AirPods onto, and you could also add this big furball and then also put a big black strap on your AirPods.
Okay, well, I think I'm glad this was not my purchase. I don't think I would use this. But this case, I'm going to go with my guts telling me $7.99 is what this cost.
$10.99. A little high on there.
That fur ball pushed it over the top.
And it looks like they do have other variations that might not have the fur ball, but there are like 20 different colors.
Yeah.
But it is a good reminder, if you have AirPods, if you're rough on them, if you want to be able to clip them onto a keychain or put them on your backpack or something.
Well, and I have found that cases on your AirPod case, and people are like, why isn't the case supposed to be the case? It helps prevent lint and metal filings from making their way into the actual case and sticking to the magnets. And so I found that it keeps it much cleaner. And with my old AirPods, before I got my new ones a few months ago, it was full of dings and nicks and scratches because I didn't have a case on it, and I dropped it several times on the sidewalk. So it's a good investment. If you're going to be spending hundreds of dollars for headphones, spend a few extra dollars and make it more stylish and more protective.
Yes, you customize it a little bit, just like we do with phone cases. Give it a little bit of protection.
I think it's a great idea.
Give it your own style. So even if you have multiple pairs in the same household, which... It is a miracle my wife and I have never mixed ours up, and we have our old pairs that are in a drawer, but every time we've got our own, we're very protective of our AirPods.
Yeah, I've been wanting to maybe get a little vinyl sticker to put on my actual AirPods to make them a different color or something like that.
Yes, a little tiny.
Yeah, but I just haven't done it yet.
Very nice. Well, I think we will go ahead and wrap up this episode. We have given you the week's news. It is slowing down towards the end of the year. We've given you some great tips for shopping this holiday season, as well as avoiding horrible phone calls so you can get the calls from your family this season as well. And we've got, 2 more episodes barely before the new year, depending on when we release.
Yeah.
So we might only have 1 more episode in 2019.
So sad.
Yes.
It's a good thing it's just kind of arbitrary and time marches on. And we'll still be here in 2020.
Oh, yes, there's that. We are not going anywhere. We are not going to become one of those inactive podcast statistics anytime soon. We really love doing this, sharing it. We love hearing from you guys when you have these questions, because I tell my clients this as well. Any technology question you have, there is a good chance that I know something about it or know where to look for the answer.
Yeah,
that's what we're passionate about. It's our hobby is technology, and so that's why we want to provide this, because we understand that's not everybody's hobby, but you can't escape technology these days.
It's everywhere. It's here all around us.
Yes. So with that, get out there and tech better. Should we just take our pants off?
Mine are already off.
True.
All right, 210, is that what we're on?
Yeah.
Doot 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 doot.